Here's your full 1,500-word emotional, dramatic story. Mechanic exposes $2 million fraud. The CEO who mocked him never expected this twist. The rain fell in steady sheets over Chicago, blurring the city lights into streaks of gold and white. Inside a modest auto repair shop tucked between two aging brick buildings, Daniel Reyes wiped grease from his hands and glanced at the clock. 8:47 p.m. Too late for new customers, but Daniel never turned anyone away. Not since the day he promised his daughter, Sophia, that no matter how hard life got, they would always help people when they could. The sound of a sleek engine cutting through the rain broke the silence. A black luxury sedan rolled to a stop outside the shop, its glossy surface shimmering under the dim streetlight. Daniel stepped outside, pulling his worn jacket tighter around him. The driver's door opened, and a woman stepped out, tall, poised, and radiating the kind of authority that made people instinctively stand straighter. Her heels clicked sharply against the wet pavement as she approached. "I need this fixed. Now," she said, her tone cold and impatient. Daniel nodded calmly. "Let's take a look." She didn't return the courtesy. As he popped the hood, she crossed her arms, eyeing him from head to toe. "You actually know what you're doing, right?" she asked. "Or do I need to call someone more qualified?" Daniel paused for a brief second, then smiled faintly. "I'll manage." Her lips curled slightly. "Good. I don't have time for mistakes. This car is worth more than this entire shop." Daniel said nothing. He'd heard worse. Inside, Sophia sat at a small desk doing homework, glancing up occasionally with curious eyes. Daniel examined the engine carefully. Within minutes, he spotted the issue, a tampered sensor, deliberately misaligned. "Strange. This wasn't an accident," he murmured. "What?" the woman snapped. "Nothing," he replied. "Just a minor fix." 20 minutes later, the car was running smoothly again. The woman checked her watch impatiently. Finally, she pulled out her phone but hesitated, as if deciding whether he deserved to be paid at all. "You're lucky I'm in a hurry," she said, tossing a few bills onto the workbench. "Otherwise, I'd have taken this to a real service center." Daniel didn't react. He simply nodded. "Drive safe." She turned to leave, then paused. "What's your name?" "Daniel." She smirked. "Well, Daniel, stick to fixing engines. Leave real business to people who understand it." And just like that, she was gone. The next morning, Daniel couldn't shake the unease from the night before. That tampered sensor, it didn't sit right with him. He'd seen similar things before. Back when he worked briefly for a corporate fleet service company, before layoffs forced him to start his own shop. Curiosity gnawed at him. After dropping Sophia at school, Daniel sat at his old computer and began digging. The car's registration led him to a name, Victoria Hale, CEO of Hale Dynamics, a multi-million-dollar tech manufacturing firm. Daniel leaned back, exhaling slowly. Figures. He clicked through public records, financial reports, and news articles. Hale Dynamics had been growing rapidly, but something didn't add up. Numbers were off, subtle discrepancies, but consistent. Then he saw it, a whistleblower complaint, quietly dismissed months ago. Internal equipment malfunctions, financial inconsistencies. Daniel's eyes narrowed. The same kind of malfunction he'd just fixed. Except that one had been staged. Days passed, but Daniel couldn't let it go. Late at night, after Sophia was asleep, he kept digging. Patterns emerged. Vehicles owned by Hale Dynamics were repeatedly reported with faulty components, repairs that cost thousands each time. But the faults weren't real. They were being created deliberately. Daniel's heart pounded. This wasn't just fraud. This was a system. A week later, the black sedan returned. Victoria stepped out, irritation already written across her face. "It's acting up again," she said sharply. Daniel opened the hood. Same issue. Different sensor. Tampered. This time, he didn't stay quiet. "Someone's sabotaging your vehicles," he said. She laughed. "Please, don't try to sound important. I'm serious." She leaned closer, her voice icy. "You fix engines. That's it. Don't pretend you understand corporate operations." Daniel met her gaze calmly. "Then why does every issue look staged?" Her expression flickered, just for a moment. Then it hardened again. "Just fix it." That night, Daniel made a decision. If she wouldn't listen, someone else would. He compiled everything. Photos of the tampered parts. Repair logs. Public financial discrepancies. Then he reached out to an investigative journalist. 2 weeks later, the story broke. $2 million fraud scheme suspected inside Hale Dynamics. The article spread like wildfire. Authorities launched an immediate investigation. Stocks plummeted. Board members demanded answers. Victoria Hale was furious and confused. She hadn't known. The truth unraveled quickly. A senior operations manager had orchestrated the scheme, creating fake repair needs, funneling company money through inflated maintenance contracts. Millions stolen, hidden in plain sight, and it all started with a mechanic who noticed something off. Victoria stormed into Daniel's shop the next day. But this time, she wasn't composed. She wasn't confident. She was shaken. "You," she said, pointing at him. "You did this." Daniel looked up calmly. "I told the truth. You went behind my back. You didn't listen." Silence filled the room. For the first time, she looked unsure. Then her voice softened, just slightly. "I could have handled it internally." Daniel shook his head. "Would you have?" She didn't answer. Sophia peeked from behind the counter. "Papa," she whispered. Daniel smiled gently. "It's okay." Victoria watched the interaction, something shifting in her expression. "You're a single dad?" she asked quietly. Daniel nodded. There was a long pause. Then, slowly, Victoria exhaled. "I misjudged you." Daniel didn't respond. "I thought," she hesitated, almost uncomfortable, "I thought people like you didn't see the bigger picture." Daniel wiped his hands on a cloth. "People like me live the bigger picture." Weeks later, the investigation concluded. The fraud was confirmed, the responsible executive was arrested, and Hale Dynamics began rebuilding. But Victoria didn't forget. One afternoon, she returned again. No attitude, no arrogance, just purpose. "I owe you," she said. Daniel shook his head. "You don't." "I do." She placed a folder on the table. "A position, head of mechanical integrity oversight." Daniel blinked. "What? You clearly understand things my entire department missed. I run a shop. You could run an entire division." He glanced at Sophia, who was drawing nearby. Then back at Victoria. "And my daughter?" Victoria smiled faintly. "Flexible hours, full benefits, education support." Daniel hesitated. This wasn't just about money. It was about trust, respect, something she hadn't shown him before. "You mocked me," he said simply. Victoria nodded. "I did. And now," she met his eyes, "now I know I was wrong." Silence stretched between them. Then Sophia walked over, holding up her drawing. It was of Daniel, in a suit, standing next to a big building. "Look, Papa," she said proudly. "That's you." Daniel stared at it, then laughed softly. Victoria raised an eyebrow. "Seems like she's already decided." A week later, Daniel walked into Hale Dynamics, not as a mechanic, but as a leader. Employees whispered. The same man they would have ignored was now in charge of fixing what they couldn't. And Victoria, she watched from her office, a quiet respect in her eyes. Because sometimes, the person you underestimate the most is the one who sees everything you don't. The Endpoint 1500 WAD.